Right, welcome back. I'm experimenting today, so I don't know how well it's going to turn out. Some paints which I bought a while ago and hardly ever use. They are Sennelier Professional Watercolours. I bought them because they were on offer. They still cost a fortune. I've got some of those and I've got some Jacksons. I very rarely use expensive paints because I worry about spoiling them. Anyway, I have the Sennelier ones, or Sennelier ones, are lemon yellow, bright red, Chinese orange, which looks vaguely burnt sienna-y to me, deep ultramarine, and Payne's grey. The other ones that I've just added to it are all Jacksons, and they are cadmium yellow, light yellow ochre, and burnt umber. And I'm also playing with this palette, which I'll explain as I go on why I'm using it, but basically it's got lots of wells, and I'm hoping to be using washes of colour. Anyway, I'll get rid of those. The painting I'm doing is based on a Robert Mee exercise which I watched last night. It's a place I know quite well, actually. Lovely place. It's Poppit Bay on Poppit Sands on Cardigan Bay, and it's a very simple thing. What it was about was painting clouds, and that's what I'm going to be playing at today. It's very simple. Headland coming down, rocky bit, sea, wet sand, somebody throwing a ball for a dog, and there's a stick in the foreground to add interest. So we'll see what we're going to do. I put a horizon line in, and I'll just sketch in the headland. I did this from the TV, so, well, not the TV, the computer screen. So we've got a darky bit there, tree bits all along there, channel coming in along there and along there, across there. I've got the furthest out bit of sea. Okay, bung that to one side for now. I've lost it. There. Bung it over there out the way so I can pick it up if I want to. The brushes I'm going to be using today are my squirrel mops. That's my big one. That's my little one. Can't remember what sizes they are because they're both Pro Art, but the sizes have run off. Anyway, that's the big one, that's the little one. And I was looking at prices of them, but they're very expensive, so I want to see how well they work, which is the main reason for doing this. Well, that one's not too bad, considering how fat and fluffy it was before. Okay, right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try a more traditional style of painting with these. The other brushes I've got, by the way, I've got a sword liner, which I've never had any luck with, but I'm going to try it again because it's daft having it in my pots and never using it. That's sword liner, and that is a squirrel and goat pure. I'll use that for the thing. That's just a mop, and that is pure squirrel and goat. Can't remember where I got that. I've had it for years. I rarely use it, but I'll use that to wet the sky. There we go. I want a sort of fluffy, cloudy sky, which is why I'm going to be using these brushes, doing it differently. I'm not going to be lifting out clouds. I'm going to try and leave the clouds in place. So that works a bit like a hake. Lots of water in it because it's genuine hair, so it is quite a good brush, that, actually, even though I rarely use it. The other one is my trusty squirrel and synthetic 1/2 inch flat, which I love. I'm whittering because I'm waiting for the sheen to go off the paper a little bit. Yeah, Poppit Sands, lovely place on the west coast of Wales. You can take your dogs there, run about, have lots of jolly fun. Okay, what I'm going to do now, in one of these big pots, this is a style of painting I never usually do, but I'm going to try it because I've got these supposedly deeply saturated paints. I want tubs of colour. Now, because this is fairly watery and the paint and the paper is wet, it should spread out and then it should leave the white bits where I don't put paint. It's a slower method than I usually use. So this could be a fairly long video. The whole point of painting like this is to let the paint do what it wants to do. That's something which, listening to Robert May last night, really knocked home to me. That when you're painting with watercolour, a lot of the time you can't really make the paint do what you want it to do. It's got a bit dry over that side. Yeah, sometimes if you try to force the paint to do what it doesn't want to do, it won't do it. And it's sometimes far better to try to adapt your idea to what the paint's doing on the canvas, on the paper. Now that is definitely gone too dry, so I'll squidge it. Technical term. Use that big damp brush to take some of that out. Now I've got damp paper again. I'll leave that to see where it wants to go. I'm adding more water to this because I'm coming further down, and as it's much further away, it will be a lot less intense. Still damp in the middle here. I've got a hard edge there which I don't want. Clean damp brush just. So there, we've got that. Just let the sun go off that. I'll turn the big light off, and hopefully if I zoom in, you should be, no, not without messing the whole thing about. You should be able to see how it goes sort of organic. We'll let it dry completely and you'll see it better then. Okay, now using this brush, I actually sound as if I know what I'm doing, don't I? Weird, because I have no idea what I'm doing at the moment. Not my usual way of painting at all, although I'm very pleased with that sky. Okay, now, again, only I'm going to do the headland next. I don't mind, it's not quite dry, I don't mind that, because it will be slightly fuzzy at the top, but the top, if I remember correctly, is sort of all covered in trees and doesn't necessarily need to be a hard edge, but I can always go in later and harden it up if I want. Okay, now I don't have a green on my palette, so I will use the lemon yellow, which is the greenier of the two. And into that I'll put some Payne's grey. Now we have a distant green, lemon yellow, Payne's grey. Tiny touch of the blue just to knock it back even further. Okay, now I've dampened that, so in fact before I do that, dampen this brush, I'm going to put in a little bit of yellow ochre. A touch of the blue. Now that I'll put some into that. Clean the brush. Using mops like this is pretty much the same. Well, you face some of the similar problems to when you're using a hake, except it's easier to control one of these, in that you get loads and loads of water in it. Remember, this will dry a lot lighter. Don't know if you can see now, it's too bright up there. It's a pity. I really love that sky and you can't see it properly. I'm just tidying up the edge of that. Thrown in a few more darks. The bottom edge of this is really in quite a lot of shadow. And because it's wet in wet, all I need to do is just dab ends. Dab the end of the brush rather. Now, it's gone a little bit too far there, so I'm going to use this little square brush. I'm just going to straighten up that bottom edge. Just a damp brush. Going to give that a blast with the hairdryer, if I can find the hairdryer. I've tidied up. Ah, it's up there. Right, I'll do some more to that after, but I wanted that nice and dry. Because we've got far away off to CC, and I'm using the square brush. And I'm going, that's greeny colour, I'm going to put some blue in it. More of the yellow ochre. This is quite a handy palette, but it would be better if it was porcelain. I've got a porcelain one like this, but it hasn't got as many wells. With plastic you tend to get that separation, but you can still see your colour. Okay, keeping the edge nice and straight. It's a bit dark, so damp brush, just soften it a bit. Okay, that's more like it. Clean up that edge. I think part of the problem I'm having with this is that there's so much pigment in these colours that they're coming out darker than they usually do with my trusty Cotmans. Try that. Quieter using a tissue. Okay, now coming out from there, there's a rocky bit. And for the rocky bit, I'm just going to mix some yellow ochre. Some burnt umber. I'm just going to use the tip of the brush. Some more burnt umber into it. Okay, we've got that. Now, give that a little blast, dry it off. Don't want it completely dry, but I do want to be able to get a nice watery bit under there. For that, my sky wash, I'm going to put a tiny touch of that orange in, which I'm hoping is going to work a bit like using light red. Just take the edge off the blue. Now, I want this quite see-through. It's slightly stronger as it comes forward. Clean the brush. Soften the edge. Okay, got that. Now I want to, now that's dry, I want to go back into there with some more tree bits. Still got my same colours on the palette. Touch of the umber. Now with this, I'm going to go in with a very light touch because I want to do sort of wet in wet on top of that dry. When I say I said because I've caught the bottom. What I was trying to say before is that I don't want to pick up the colours underneath. I want to lay these colours on top, and yet I still want colours I'm laying on top to blend into each other. Sorry I'm not talking much. Concentrating. When your brain's as tiny as mine, there's not a lot of room for anything else when I'm concentrating. Okay, most of that's okay, just that one little corner. I'll wait for that to dry before I put the blue back in. Yeah, I'm looking at my sketch. There's a sort of river wet sand bit coming out there and another wet bit there. See how that blends in when it's dry, and I'll start coming further forward now. Actually, I'm going to use this big brush. I quite liked using it before. Mix a wet sand colour, not like reddy colour, Chinese orange, it's strong. yellow ochre into it. Here's some sparkles. Right, okay. I'm going to try this sword liner, which I've never used in anger. I keep trying brush strokes with it, but it doesn't seem to work. I'm getting some dark colour on there. And I'm just going to, while that's wet, sorry, we might have to have some dark clouds in there as well now. I think possibly the sword liner might be going back in the box. Okay, let's see if I can do anything with my sky that I did so love. that's not going to work. Now I've just mixed up some bright red, some blue and a touch of burnt sienna. I've dampened the paper where those blotches are. Ah, there we go. With a bit of luck, that should disguise the brown blotches. Now all I have to do is try and salvage this beach. I don't know, I keep on thinking I'm going to do a video which demonstrates something, and almost all my videos end up demonstrating how to cock things up and get out of it, but still. I suppose that's a good lesson to learn. Damp brush, and all I'm going to try and do is pull some lights out of this messy thing. Pull some stuff out with the bigger brush. I can do this. Oh, I think I was going to say because it's good paper, but I have no idea what paper this is. It's just an odd piece I found lying around. Either Bockingford or the Langford. Now I'm moving this around on purpose. What I'm going to try doing is when I've got some bits out of it, I'll dry it off completely. And then hopefully I should be able to put a reflection over the top of the whole thing. should end up with more or less a stain. Clean out that end. Whatever paper it is good paper, because with some, if I'd tried doing this with cheap paper, it would have taken the top off it. But because this is either 100% or 50% cotton paper, it will let me faff about with it. Back in, a bit more definition to me purple clouds. There. Okay, got that. Now I'm going to dry all of this. Put your fingers in your ears, health and safety. There, that's that. Now, more or less 100% dry, just before I do what I hope will be a bit of magic. I want to put another bit of beach in there. This one's further away, more of the ochre, touch of the umber, bit of water, drop of water, I want this one just along the beach, the edge there. I did a little more of the orange just for this bit. There. Now, cross your fingers, folks, and see if this works or doesn't work. And back to this big brush. And I'm going to mix more of the cloud colour, of the sky colour, which is almost pure ultramarine, with just a slight touch of the Payne's grey. Give it another blast. Put your fingers in your ears. Didn't work as well as I'd hoped. Okay, now rescue time again. Charlie Evans has got a book out called Watercolour Rescue, and if he hadn't, I'd be thinking of changing my channel name to Watercolour Rescue. It's all I ever seem to do. Just trying to put some texture into this beach. It's supposed to look like sand and not mud. I'm going to get a harder brush. What should have happened, but didn't, was that the blue should have sat on top and looked as if it was a reflection. Unfortunately, just didn't happen. Which is what I was saying before. It's not always possible to make watercolour do what you want it to do. There you go, put your fingers in your ears. Okay, right, let's see if we can do anything better. Okay. I'm mixing deep, deep blue. Touch of the, whatever that colour's called, Payne's Grey. Putting some shadows in to break up this, try and make it look as if it's the sort of ripply bits left behind by the tide. Over this side, just to bring it further forward, I'm going to put a tiny overpainting, a glaze of bright yellow. It'll either work or it won't. Just to bring this further forward. Okay. Find a little rigger. It's all very muddy here, which is ironic that a beach hasn't worked because it's muddy, but never mind. Okay, mixing up dark colour just for a figure. About here. A little woof. Perhaps another little figure by the side of that one. A little bit of a story to it. Now, try putting me a little bit of stick in. Okay, it's a bit long. I'm going to try because yellow ochre is a fairly opaque colour, and this orange also seems to be quite strong. I'm going to try mixing some of that very thickly. No, not working. Okay, there's only one thing for it. Put that over there. My trusty gouache palette. Bit of magic. Naples yellow. Yellow ochre. Some white gouache. Now, mix up a nice wet sand colour. I absolutely love gouache. It's such a wonderful medium and so forgiving. You can do anything with it. You can use it as watercolour, you can use it like oil, and you can use it, as you see, to rescue the worst messes imaginable in watercolour painting. Some people would say it's cheating, or rubbish. Whatever gets you through the night. The only thing you need to worry about with gouache is that sometimes the darks dry lighter and the lights dry darker, so unless you keep an eye on it, you can end up with something that looks a bit flat in the end. But the beauty of it is you just go over the top again anytime you want. I'm running out of space on this palette, that's the problem. Cause for why I brought it upstairs and didn't clean it. Ah, there's a nice white bit. There we go. I think that's more or less done. An hour and a half of messing something up and 10 minutes of sorting it out. Okay, leave it there, I'll have a look at it and come back. Right, I've left it dry and it seems okay now. I'll just take the tape off and stick it in a mount. As I always say, when you take the tape off, make sure you pull it away from your picture, because otherwise you may end up ripping your painting off, which I have done on several occasions. So there we go. Put a little mount on it, quarter imperial mount, and there we go. walking on the beach or something of that. Don't know if I can get in any closer, but see, those clouds don't look too bad. Lots of no, it won't go. There's my little figures. See how the gouache really makes the beach shine. That was a complete write-off before I got the gouache out, but now it's a picture. It's never going to be a brilliant picture, but it's a picture. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something.